Let's use everything you've learned to build a working calculator in Java. Simple, but dope. What's up? I'm here again, and today we're coding a calculator using methods. We handle addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Now note, they are going to be all reusable. And a bonus, you'll see how methods keep your clean, sorry, keep your code clean. Okay, so if you're ready, head over to IntelliJ with me. So in your IntelliJ IDE, we're going to be creating a new file under our source folder, and we're going to be naming this file calculator. So just okay, click on the plus button and click on Java. So right now you may not be seeing what I'm doing. So just click on the plus button you can see and click on the Java class which you would see and just write calculator. Okay, so now the calculator function pops right in on our screen. So now we're starting with a class, and this is always the what you will find in your Java code. So since we want this class to be able to run, because for now it does not run, then we can add our entry point method, which is always the same no matter what. First, we start with public, meaning it is general, it is not hidden. We go with static, meaning it is stagnant, it doesn't change. Then we go with void, meaning this function does not return anything. Hence, we are not going to create a object from this function. Main is the name of the function by default. Strings in array forms, that is what this means. Then other arguments. All right. So after adding this line of code, our play button becomes visible. All right. So now let's do what we call pseudocode. What is pseudocode? Breaking down larger problems, seeing how you can write it out, or how you can write it out before writing the code. Okay, so instead of using flowcharts, we don't use flowcharts, but we give step-by-step guidelines. So now in building this calculator, how do we think? How do we guide ourselves? So we're going to be dividing the calculator project into two steps. So the first step, we're going to name step 1, and this first step, we're going to be able to create methods for each operation. So let's put this in. So this is step 1. We should be able to create methods for each operation. Now notice or remember, methods is the same as JavaScript functions. What they do is they take in a line of code and reuse and reuse and reuse. So it's like going to a factory to produce a specific product and having the factory produce that product over and over again without necessarily rebuilding the factory. Right, so that is what methods are and what functions are. So our basic operations are the plus operation, the minus operation, the divide operation, and the multiplication operation. So these are the 4 operations we're going to be concentrating on. Later on, at the end of this whole tutorial series, I'm going to teach you how you could be able to handle reward situations like the scientific calculators, the mathematical classes in Java, like your maths.pow, your maths.pow just helps you raise the power of something, your maths.randint, just so you can be able to understand, so that you can be able to pass your exam or even your quizzes or tests in a job interview or your school examination. Okay, so now with the first step in mind, we're going to create our first method. Again, we're going to be using the public keyword. You can still do without it by default if you know um if you know um keyword is stated here. It's set to public, except I change this to private. Okay, but since it's public, I'm going to keep it public. We're not hiding anything. Okay, so later on I'm going to tell you where to use private and some other keyword. Or let's go. So now we're going to use static because it does not change. Addition remains addition. Then we're going to write the name of the function, or sorry, the name of the method, which is to add, and we're going to say we're adding a and b. But note, this is Java, so you cannot just say a and b. You have to indicate the data types, right? So we indicate that we want integer of a and integer of b. Then what are we doing? Now notice I do not have void here because we're supposed to say public static void main. Since this is add, is add. Okay, this is the name of this function. Now notice I do not have void here. Why? If I'm having void, it means this function is not going to have this return statement. So if I say a plus b, which is what we need to do, then it's going to be an error because voids do not return statement. Now, since a is an integer and b is an integer, it will only be wise to return an integer. All right, see the error disappears. So if here was to be a double and here was to be a double, then we can return a double. So I'm going to show you another condition where you don't necessarily need to return an integer if here is an integer, right? So let's keep on going. The next one, so I'm just going to take in my suggestions from the AI for now. So for subtraction, it's the same procedure, and for multiplication, it's the same procedure. Notice we are using these operands here. So this is our modus operandi, or the modes of operation for the plus to the division. So now here is the point whereby you can combine both a bool and I'm sorry, it's not a boolean. You can combine both the integer and the double. So if we say public and I say static, now note I'm going to be using double here. Now I'm going to be using the double and I'll tell you why I'm using double. Notice I'm using double, but I'm not going to call this double double. Instead, I'm going to call this int. Okay, so we don't want to be handling complex mathematics. We want to be able to handle just integers. All right, so we could say this should be double double so that it makes more sense because you can divide 33.4 by, but we're keeping it simple, so we need only whole numbers. So what can we do? First of all, we need to check something because any number divided by 0 would break our code. So to prevent that, we should say if using the condition statement b is equal to 0. What does this mean? It means that if the user types b 100 divided by 0, instead of my code breaking and exiting with exit code 1, I need my code to exit with exit code 0. I'll show you what I mean by exit code 1 and exit code 0. So all I'm going to do is watch for the condition if the user types in 100 divided by 0, 300 divided by 0, or any number divided by 0. So this is what we call error handling. So I can put it at the top, thinking ahead of the user. All right, error handling. So we're going to think ahead of the user, not being backward and allowing the user to fix these errors before we fix them. So we need to think before the user. So now we're handling this error. What do we want to tell the user? I want to print to our console, because we are printing to our console for now, that there is an error. And the error is that the user divide by 0. So is that all? No, we return 0. And notice, because it's double, we're going to see something like 0.00. All right. So we are clear with this one. So we have checked for error handling. We have checked for when a user inputs 0. So now we're just going to return our normal return when we call a function which is a divided by b. But notice there is a yellow line. So when you see a squiggly line beneath your code, know there's an error. For yellow, it means it's a minute or mini error. But if it shows red, it's a major error. Now this won't prevent my code from running, but just to be double clear, we need to convert this into a double, because AB is integer, and to convert integers to double, all I just need to do is type the double in brackets before what I want to convert. Now notice, if this were to be converting to float, float would just be here, and what I want to convert would be after the new variable part type. Okay, so this is all I wanted to show you for step 1. Now in step 2, all we need to do is to call the method inside of our public static void main. So we'll call this method. Now how do we call this method? We're going to call this method. Now notice it's showing us to use a scanner, but I'm going to give you that as a challenge. So use a scanner to get in user input, so that the user can operate this calculator using their own values, okay, not our own default values. So now, for now, I'm going to be using my own default values, system.out.println. Okay, so this is just normal, and I'm going to add a bunch of strings before, so that you understand what's going on. So this is the first one, which is addition, right? So I'm going to concatenate. This is called concatenation, and what I'm going to add is 10 and 5. So this is the procedure we're going to be following for the next operations to come. All right, so let's go, and this is how we do it. For subtraction, we just call the subtract method, and you see IntelliJ is so nice that it gives you the variables. Okay, so it shows this is A and this is B, so you don't mistake B for A and A for B. Okay, now let us see something. We are dividing by 0. Let us see if our error handling actually works. Okay, so in the console, if I run this code now, you will see that, okay, our error check actually works. All right, so it shows error divided by 0. So we thought ahead of the user. Now if we put it by divided by 9, we have 1.1111111, then rounding off to 2, right? So this actually works, and you can see that each one is accounted for. Now using the double data type enabled us to get much data value from the operation. Okay, so I hope this makes sense to you and you're able to understand what this means. Now there's an optional task. I want to ask you to get user, or to ask the user for input. So if you're feeling spicy, use scanner to let users input their numbers and operations. But if not, static values are cool for now. So if you don't feel like using the scanner class, you can just keep on using static values. But I would encourage you to use a scanner class to do this yourself. Now, why this project rocks? In this project, we made use of reusable methods, return values, error handling, and now all together we are building real stuff now. That's fun, right? So that's a wrap on our first real Java project. Next week, or next time, or the next video, we'll go deeper with loops, user inputs, and control flow. Please like, sub, and comment hashtag JavaCalc if your code ran. Now here is a brief extra um information. So in the process of recording these videos, sometimes my videos do not actually record for some reasons. So some of these videos were repeated again. I have to go through the tutorial again just to ensure that each video records properly. So please do not just watch and leave. Do where to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel, because it takes effort to make these videos and have them edited, only to find out that you did not even record them correctly. Okay, so please leave a like and also use the comment section a lot so that we can also gain from this free tutorial series. All right, so that's it for me. See you in the next one.